Well. It's good to be back again. My name is John. I'm going to be your host once again for our podcast for ARCHE Ministries, where we are able to get more of an inside depth on conversations that are things that are going on with our ministry. If you guys have heard, a couple weeks ago we had a team go to the Dominican Republic, and I'm so happy to have two of those members with us today to talk a little bit about their experience. In front of me, I have Toby. He's going to be an upcoming junior at Cy Woods. And to my right, I've got Hwang, who's going to be a senior at Seven Lakes. How are you guys doing today?
Doing okay.
You guys doing all right?
It's
Getting
cool.
situated?
Yeah? It's chill.
Situated back into Houston life. Well, I'm so glad you guys are here. Talk a little bit about what you guys did at the Dominican Republic. But before we go into all of that, though, let's lay some ground. Let's lay down like a definition of what missions is to each of you, and any of you guys can take it.
So missions for me personally is just going out to different people and just pretty much like transferring what I know about God to other people that may not have heard or that may be on the fence about believing God. Just transferring my experiences, just what I think about God. And also maybe like biblical information as well. I'm not very versed in the Bible, so I choose personal experience most of the time, which is really like allowing them to also maybe get an insight onto what God may have in store.
Yeah, adding on to that, just going out and showing God's love, the love that we've received from Him and that we've recognized from Him and accepted. And yeah, just extending that out to whoever we meet and just showing the life transformation that comes from doing life with God.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because, we've had people come from, we had the inner city Houston team, a couple members come and talk a little bit on this podcast. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have hopefully the Thailand team who are coming later tonight, a couple members to have their own little podcast and sharing. We always start with this question because I want us to kind of understand what missions is about. Because you guys are part of mission training where we met every Saturday morning for the past couple of months. And like that build up and all of that requires a lot of time and effort. So what made you guys want to go on a mission trip, particularly to the Dominican Republic?
I don't know if this is the same for everyone else, but for me, at least in ARCHE, missions has kind of been normalized, I guess. It's kind of a thing we do every summer. And yeah, I think my drive was a lot stronger last year wanting to go because it was my first time, and coming back, of course, this is like, it's kind of a thing, it's like a no-brainer. Yeah, I'm going on missions, right? So I think just going on missions is kind of a thing that we do as a ministry. And of course, it's our call, right? To go and show love and to spread God's word.
For me, I think like a lot of the really close people around me have also been like going on missions and things like that, but I always waited for like a specific call. God like show up to me or something and be like, hey, go on missions. But as I really grew in my faith, I grew to realize that, God is always calling us. There's no need for a specific like real big time to be like, oh, I want to go on missions, as long as I'm willing and I'm wanting to go, like God can use me in so many great ways. And I think realizing that really just made my heart for missions grow.
This was a little bit different this year because originally you guys were meant to be the Haiti mission trip. You guys were supposed to go to Haiti, and then we had some issues with security and safety for you guys, and so we had to switch to the Dominican Republic. But how did you guys react individually whenever you guys heard about the news that, hey, we're not going to be able to go to Haiti this year, we're going to have to go to the Dominican Republic? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, because last year our mission team was also supposed to go to Haiti, and we got rerouted to New Orleans. And even most of this year, just throughout missions training and the 7 months of build-up, there was always this kind of suspicion, I guess, in the back of my mind saying, oh, we may not go, because I always received emails from MOH just updating us on the situation there and how things are going and what's happening. So it was always I kind of felt like 50-50. We may go, we may not go to Haiti specifically. And we knew that Turks and Caicos or the DR was always an option from MOH, Mission of Hope. So, yeah, it was just not expected, but I was prepared for the news.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely missions training didn't like it was strange because like we had all these different groups, but it was never like specified like, oh, Haiti team, like Thailand team, Houston team, things like that. So I think when like the news came that we were not Haiti team anymore, we had the possibility of becoming DR team. Like for me, I was just like, okay, you know, that's where God is leading us. That is where we go. And it wasn't that big of a shock, but I think to a lot of other team members, it was a really big change, I think. Because I think a lot of the people really looked forward to Haiti. And for me, this was like the first time as well. So I didn't have any expectations. I didn't know what Haiti was like at all. So it was just, okay, I'm going on missions to the DR now. I think for a lot of people, they really missed Haiti and then also wanted to feel the different things they did there. So it's really different. It's difficult.
Yeah. I mean, even before we go on, like Toby, this was your second
Yep.
time going on missions. Last year you mentioned you went to New Orleans, but you were supposed to go to Haiti too. And then for Hannah, this was your first time, right, going on missions, and obviously, yeah, wanting to go to Haiti, but being switched to the DR. Yeah, on top of that too, like the preparation for missions training, it almost felt that you guys weren't, as a team, like in general, like you guys didn't feel as prepared, like as trained or as ready. How did that affect your mentality, your mental before the mission trip? Did that have an effect, or were you guys like, oh, like this is normal?
There was definitely a wake-up call about 3 weeks before we left. We kind of all just, Pastor brought us into this room, and we just sat down and said, hey, how are we feeling? How is life? What's our mental state? What's our spiritual and emotional state? And we just got time to share and to bond and to be vulnerable. And yeah, it was a big wake-up call saying, hey, we're going in 3 weeks and we honestly don't feel prepared at all, even though we've been, training for however long, right? So after that, it was okay. After that, we knew we weren't prepared, and I think we were okay with that. Just saying, hey, God, it's all you now.
Definitely, I think because we were unprepared, so many different things were able to happen with that, right? Because we were unprepared, I think a lot of us were just able to really surrender to God. That definitely would not have been able to happen, I think, if we felt that we were prepared.
Yeah, you guys got it.
Yeah, I think like that really opened the door for a lot of prayer and a lot of just really no expectations. I'm just going in, God use me.
Yeah, so like that whole moment of being able to be vulnerable with each other in this room, like talking about like, hey, like how are you guys doing? Like, you guys feel prepared or whatever. Do you think that had an effect on team chemistry going in? Like, I'm sure you guys felt a lot closer afterwards.
Yeah, we hadn't really spent time bonding as a team before that. Even 3 weeks before, we just kind of put our heads down and started working and preparing. So yeah, I think just getting to know each and every one of each other and just getting to know where they are at the moment and how they're feeling was definitely good.
So kind of give us, like, paint us a picture about, like, obviously not all of us have gone to the Dominican Republic. So for the people that you guys were serving, and Hannah, you can take this question first, what was their daily life like?
So we were specifically in a like Haitian dominant community called Cangrejo. So we were on a campus called Crossroads, which is on top of a mountain. So from the mountain, like you had to go down like 10 minutes and then it'd be like another 5-minute ride from the bottom of the mountain to the neighborhood. And like it was just really interesting to see the dynamic of the people living there, because you could definitely see, like, even though it was a Haitian dominant community, there were Dominican people living there. Just like the difference in like housing and things that they had, along with like the Haitian people living in more like like smaller like kind of tent houses. Some people were living in like things made out of like aluminum like pieces.
Tin.
Yeah, tin, just like tin pieces like stuck together with like just one room. And then other people, like a lot of the Dominican people that we visited, would actually have like big houses and things like that. And so that dynamic was also very interesting. And then like it was strange to see how like in America, or like especially where we live, it's normal to have like your parents, they just leave for work, like because we went from Wednesday to Wednesday, so we were there for a lot of the week, right? You just go out to work and then you have your parents come back. But then it'd be strange to see like everyone's just there, in the community, like then they have jobs in the community, but at the same time, like, you know, they're just chilling, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just strange to see, you know? Like, some lady was selling ice cream. Some lady was, like, frying empanadas, and, like, that's her job, you know? And then, like, it's basketball time. All the guys are here. They just like to play basketball, you know? Strange things like that. It's just really eye-opening to see, like, wow, you know, the life that I knew is not it. There's so much more out there.
Toby, is there anything you wanted to add to that? What daily life was for like a typical Dominican Republic person?
Yeah, it's pretty chill, honestly. And the village was very communal. They interacted well, like, with each other. It's not like kind of everybody's doing their own thing, but everyone does their own thing together, if that makes sense.
Community mindset.
Yeah. And all the kids are just, literally all the kids are just running around everywhere. Like, they'll walk into each other's houses, it's whatever. I'm sure most of them knew each other's names. Like, the parents knew all the other kids' names. And they, like, the parents don't, like, what's it called? Like, helicopter their kids. They kind of just roam around wherever they want, which is kind of different for me.
Yeah. How big was the village that you guys were serving at? How many people approximately? You give us like a ballpark answer.
400.
I
don't know.
Did it feel bigger or smaller?
For me, I don't know. I don't know how many is how many people. You know? How does math work?
But it wasn't like it wasn't like a large, like a huge city.
Yeah, no. Like, it wasn't even a city. Like, it was just like a collection of many different houses and things like that. So it's kind of
yeah. Okay. So, like, you guys went there. Obviously, life is very different. Weather is very different. People very different. Was there a moment that you probably can say, like, that was, like, the hardest part of missions for you guys? Anybody can take it. Hardest part of missions.
To be honest, yeah, I was probably expecting it to be a lot harder. Just, like, living, doing normal things, like going to the restroom, showering, sleeping, especially, because we'd heard stories. And then when we got there, it wasn't as hot as I thought it'd be, because we were up in the mountains and it cooled down at night. And, like, shower situation wasn't terrible. I did get eaten up by bed bugs a lot, but besides that, it was very bearable. It wasn't as, like, terrible as Pastor described it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh?
yeah. I mean, and then girls, we didn't have bed bugs. You know, we were like, maybe like the most uncomfortable thing was like you have to climb up the bunk bed, but then there's only like one rod, and then the bunk bed moves, and it feels like my life is flashing before my eyes. I just want to get to bed, you know, or like, okay, oh, you know, it's hot, but it's breezy, you know, so it's not that bad. But then when you would go inside the houses for strategic mission time, which is where you just visit like different people in the village and things like that, or not village, neighborhood, just like visit them, and then you enter their house and you like speak to them. Like, that's what strategic mission time is. But when we went to go do strategic mission time, like getting into the people's houses, like the breeze cannot enter because there's walls. You just sit there and it's so hot.
Yeah.
You're trying to focus on this person speaking and you're trying to think of different things, but you just want to sit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're sitting, and then they might have a rotary fan, right?
Oh.
So you're focusing on when the fan turns to you.
and then your eyes, and then you see it, and it moves, right? But it's turned the other way. Your heart breaks, man.
Oh,
and then you're like,
God.
oh, it's coming.
Yeah. Because like you guys, I mean, it's obvious. Like the people in the Dominican Republic, they don't all speak English, right? So you guys needed translators.
Yep.
Yes.
So how was conversation like talking with somebody or talking to a translator and having the translator talk with the people and then waiting for the person to talk to this translator or only have the translator tell you? Like, was there any problems with that? Did you feel like uncomfortable, or how was that experience?
It wasn't uncomfortable. It was. I mean, translators did a great job, but I also think like sometimes there'd be like little things that they say, and then I think it just get lost in translation. Of course, it's not their fault. They may forget some certain things they said and things like that, because sometimes they talk for like good minute, 2 minutes, right? So, but yeah, it was fine. It wasn't terrible. So.
Yeah. I mean, that experience, like especially with translators, it just made me realize, dang, you know, I should have learned Spanish. I took Chinese in school. What am I gonna do with this? I should have learned Spanish, you know. It's
You never know. God might call you to East Asia, where Chinese would be very, very relevant.
Yeah. We never know, you know. But I was like, in the moment, I was like,
You should have learned
so
Spanish.
many
Yeah,
opportunities.
I took 2 years of Spanish, and it was
still-
tough. It was tough.
Yeah. For
I only knew like basic conversation. Hello, how are you? What's your name? How old are you? Besides that, kind of lost. Yep.
Spanish.
Yeah. Like, did it seem like that people were used to having like mission teams like come and visit, or was this like a very like fresh experience for them as well?
I don't know if there are. They said there had been 2 teams, so like
Before.
2 weeks before
Yeah.
that the church had been working, or MOH had been working with that church in Cangrejo with the village. But even then, like of course we're Asian, and I'm sure for a lot of those people it'd been like first time seeing an Asian in real life.
Oh,
right?
really? Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, even then we didn't get a lot of we got stares, but it wasn't like taken aback, right? The people were very welcoming. Like we would go into their houses, like the translator would be like, "Hey, we're doing this, can we come in?" And then they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, let's talk." And it'd just be very chill and very very open to or down for whatever. So it was cool.
Yeah, also in the DR, like the culture is when you enter someone's house, like the host or like the person that lives in the house is not entertaining you, you're entertaining them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think that also made it a lot easier because, you know, like I think definitely in Korean culture, like as a host, you're like, oh, I have to entertain, you know, things like that. You know, what do I ask? What do I talk about? But then I think just having the the ease of like, you know, just people enter my house and we talk. That was also like a really good catalyst for really good conversations about God and things like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I did not know about that. Wow. So, obviously, the Dominican Republic is a very popular tourist like destination, right? And so for you guys, obviously, you guys saw 2 sides. How was it though? Like, what was the big difference between like the tourist side of the Dominican Republic as opposed to like the village that you guys were serving in?
So definitely the difference was really stark. So we went from Wednesday to Wednesday. Yeah. So on Wednesday we started working, and then on Sunday we had a little break for Sabbath, like Sunday service and things like that. So it was mostly like just a week of seeing a lot of like just straight up, you know, just poverty and things like that. You know, there are cars, but then it's mostly like people riding on motorcycles, people walking, you know, it's like little things like that, right? But then like on Sunday, so after service, we went out to a tourist attraction. It's kind of a pier. But then it just to see us going from the neighborhood that we usually like worked and like lived near to the pier, like just driving even, it was like what, like 30 minutes to an hour drive, just the scenery would start to change, right? A lot of urban slums and things like that, a lot of people motorcycling, you know, just random, I don't know, like trash everywhere, things like that. And then all of a sudden, like on the road, like on the highway, you see like what, like straight up luxury cars, luxury neighborhoods, you know, like just weird, you know, so strange to think that there are so many different sides of the Dominican Republic. I think like in the public's eyes, and definitely like American view, Dominican Republic is like luxury, oh, like super vacation, you know, just straight up like just beautiful place with lots of scenic views, like tourist attractions, things like that. But to be reminded of the fact that there are these 2 sides to it was really eye-opening.
Yeah, that was kind of something that I had thought about. Like, we'd be driving and just I'd look over and like, oh my gosh, if I was on vacation here and we had just drove past that, it would have been nothing. But here we see, I don't know, there's like, you know, little naked babies walking around, like stuff like that would break my heart, right? And then, but if I was on vacation here, we just drove past it, I probably wouldn't even noticed, right? Things like that. Just seeing how unfortunate it is over there, but then also how if I was in a different mindset, if I was on vacation mode, it would have just passed right by. And then also on the second to last day, Tuesday was our beach day. So we were out on the beach and we went to go walk past souvenir shops. So like there was the beach, and then behind the beach there would be like a lot of restaurants and souvenir shops on the street. And we'd be walking past and there would be shops with like canvas paintings and like just pictures of like nude women and like other things like that. And to see how normalized that was, and like to see obviously it's there for someone to buy, and there's a demographic of people that are going to buy that, right? So to see just how normal that was very shocking to me.
Yeah, like there's a very stark contrast between like the tourist side of like the DR that they're willing to show you, as opposed to like, you know, for the majority of the population, how they live, you know, where they're sleeping, you know, what they're working on, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, going on from that, for the people that you guys met and you guys talk with, how is Christianity or like Christians generally perceived as in the Dominican Republic? Is it good or bad, or is there any specific things that you noticed?
Yeah, I think this is something that was very prominent in our trip, something that we had to be very mindful of. So in the Dominican, Christianity is very legalistic. It's very like by the book, and people from the outside view that I have to be clean before I can step into this life as a Christian. There's a lady that we met, and she didn't want to give up dancing like they call it the disco, but basically a club. She liked to go to a club, and she thought, before I can become Christian, I have to give this up. I have to put this away. I have to become worthy of joining the church, right? So yeah, just to see that, and Pastor did a pretty good job of explaining, hey, we're all broken here, and then we're all broken people worshiping a perfect and holy God. And but even then, she was very hesitant, and she was like, no listo, which means I'm not ready, right? And that's something we kind of heard from multiple people. Yeah. That's kind of the, not attitude, I can't think of the word, just the
mindset.
Yeah, the mindset of people there.
And then also it was really apparent to see that many of the people that were kind of like debating about going to church and being Christian, I think they were also fearful of like the hypocrisy that a lot of the Christians in the DR were facing, because definitely like there are lots of different temptations and, you know, like different things that are in the world, and, you know, like as Christians, like you're supposed to turn your back to them, and especially with like legalistic culture, like that is so apparent. Like you have to be like, Christian means you are good, you are perfect, you are, you know, things like that, which is, that's not the way it's supposed to be, right? But I think with those ideas, like a lot of the people were even afraid to even enter because they were afraid of being judged, you know, they're afraid of being like, just the nature of hypocrisy was so big.
So with that, you know, being said, how did you guys as a team approach people that you met at the DR? Like you guys were talking a little bit before about, you know, it's very legalistic. It's like, oh, I got to make myself clean. I got to make myself pure before I go to church. How did you guys approach these people then?
Yeah, so one of the days there was an argument between two of the translator, or an intern and a translator, I forgot which, but they were talking about jewelry. One of them was very adamant about Christians don't wear jewelry, no earrings, no bracelets, no necklaces, no nothing, right?
So this is like the original, like he's a translator for us, but he is like, he's ethnically Haitian, but he's culturally Dominican.
So I'm sorry, I can't explain the story. Can you explain why Enoch was so?
Yeah, fill the blanks for us. That's good.
So what happened was we had two Haitian interns who were working with us in the DR, but they like live in Haiti, and I don't know. I mean, they're from Haiti. They live in America. Sorry, just like they're Haitian people. And then we had our other translator who was like originally like maybe born in Haiti or something, but like he's lived in the DR for like 20 years. So he's Dominican culturally, things like that, right? So they were having an argument about jewelry and accessories and things like that. How the Dominican translator, his name is Enoch. Enoch was like, he was so adamant about the fact that Christians do not wear jewelry. You know, jewelry is against things like that. He's so strong about that like idea. And then the two Haitian translators, they were getting frustrated as well. They're like, well, you know, that makes no sense. Just because I have on jewelry, like this does not mean that I'm less of a Christian or like worse Christian, things like that. You know, this does not hinder me from following God. You know, they're like, this is just fashion, you know, straight up like, so it's just really heated argument, right? But then this legalistic idea is so ingrained into these people, I think, like the Dominican people in general. And then also for Enoch personally, like our Dominican translator, he had an experience where his great aunt or his aunt-in-law was possessed by demons. Then he was part of the exorcism process, right? So like they whatever, and then they exorcised the demon, and then the demon, as it left, it was like, oh, you know, I did not hurt this woman because she is pure. She is not wearing jewelry. She is free of holes in her body, like earrings or whatever, right? So I think that left a really big mark on him. But then to see his view was not just because of this personal experience, but shared by most of the people of the DR was really crazy, right? Yeah, and then...
Yeah, so we didn't experience that. Pastor was like kind of, eavesdropping or whatever, listening. And then I think he talked to them after that. But he shared that with us during our debrief at night that day. And he was just saying, like, as we're here, we're not home. This is their home. So the way we portray ourselves as Christians, as they see Christians, would be Christians don't wear jewelry, for example, right? So if they see us proclaiming God's name, proclaiming the kingdom and the gospel, but then they see us wearing jewelry, let's say that they see us and say, oh, that's not a Christian, that's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're wearing jewelry. Then immediately anything that we say is just noise. Anything we say is simply just words of a hypocrite, right? So, Pete was just talking about how laying down our freedoms, laying down things that we may think are normal, that we have to, for the sake of the kingdom, just to further God's name and be able to connect with these people and not have just this one thing, this bracelet or this earring or this necklace be the thing that hinders us from spreading his word.
Yeah, because and then from then on, it was like you guys are very mindful about jewelry. I think like just as a general, like y'all's team decided not to wear earrings, no necklaces, no bracelets, even so far as like not playing secular music for the people around them, so they can hear like, hey, like this is very clear like what we're called to do as Christian missionaries here. And I think that's great to contextualize it for them. So for the people, like, was there anybody that you guys met that left like a noticeable impact on your mission trip?
For me, like Toby like touched on this earlier, but there was a woman. She's like, I don't know, she's pretty young, like 20, early 20s, like early mid 20s, and then she had an 8-month-old baby, right? She was like, I like God, I like Jesus, I like what they talk about, things like that, but I cannot follow God. I like clubbing. But then to think like these things are hindering her, like that really broke my heart. Right? But then I realized like I was doing the same thing kind of, I'm saying, oh, I have these different sins, so I can't come to you, God. I was like, dang, God, you're revealing things in so many different ways to me, right? But then also like Pastor used this analogy, like because she had a son, she was like, or he was like, so if your son, he's not going to grow up the way that you want him to specifically, right? She was like, yeah, Then he was like, oh, but if this son was to leave, right? And then you try to invite him back, right? And then he was to say, oh, I'm not ready. Like, how would that make you feel? And she's like, of course, it'll break my heart, right? And then Pastor was like, it's the same thing. She's like, yeah, I understand. But to see that like reluctance, I think that really just impacted me because of because I recognized like I was doing the same thing, right? And then also just the fact that it broke my heart so much that she knew God's love, or she was trying to understand, but at the same time she felt she was unworthy, so she could not take it.
Sorry, I forgot the question.
Sure, I can restate it. Was there anybody that you met on a trip that left like a noticeable impact?
There's this lady, her name is Severina. Elderly, probably 60s, 70s. We visited her one day, and she was in her bed, and she just got up on her bed, but she couldn't move. She said there was something in her knee and something in her back, just injuries, right? And she said she had like, she showed us like probably 20 different medications, prescriptions that she had, and none of them worked to numb the pain. And just to see her physical pain and how much she was hurting, but at the same time she proclaimed, praise God, no matter what, praise God, and to see her faith and to see her just her willingness to trust him at all times, even though she was hurting so bad. And then we visited her, maybe that was Saturday, and then we visited her Monday again, and she said after we visited, she said that she was sleeping a lot better. She was sleeping with a lot less pain. She was out in her kitchen now, and she was able to move a little bit. She shared about her son, her son-in-law. She has two daughters and one son, and the husband of one of her daughters had been killed 8 years ago. She doesn't know why. Some people had killed her or had killed him, and her two daughters are in New York right now receiving treatment for some illness, and she said her daughter is still heartbroken. And one of I forgot who, but one of our team members like, so has she ever thought about remarrying? And she Severina, she smiled and she's like, no. She's like, it's not even like an option, because she said her daughter is still very heartbroken and very still mourning her husband. And yeah, just to see the brokenness in that family and still her faith and her, yeah.
This is like a random question, but like Christians in a whole in the DR, are they like persecuted or anywhere? Is there like any like government resistance to them being Christian and practicing their faith, or is it pretty like well accepted?
I did not experience anyone being persecuted. I would assume that, because most of them, I think a good percentage of them are at least Catholic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the Christian percentage, but I think Christianity's pretty chill over there.
Yeah, so from what I understand, like there are definitely like a lot of American missionaries and things that have set up church in there, and then also lots of people that are Christian. But I think because of like the legalistic nature, and then also the different like just the way Christians are perceived by people that are not Christians, I think they're not persecuted, but I think they are definitely viewed in a certain light, you know?
Yeah. And this is another question I just thought up, because I feel like it'd be a good way to kind of close with us. For you guys as a team or individually, was there a moment where you really felt like God was moving, or that God was very tangible to you at that place in DR?
To be honest, like interacting with the people was good, and it was good to see God move in certain people that we met. But it was just us as a team. Every night we would debrief, and to see us like exponentially getting closer and closer every time we shared. And by the end of the week, we would always eat together. We would always be we actually could not get enough of each other. We were always together, always doing something together. Maybe not all 14 of us, but we were always in groups, always doing something. And to see us just sharing each other's love and just wanting to spend time with each other at all times was crazy. And I think for me personally, just seeing that and seeing how much I was loving and how much I was wanting to love, and then the contrast between that and me back home with my family, just my unwillingness to pour out on them, even though they're the people that I share the most of my life with. And they're the people that, my dad always says this, you don't really get a choice with your brothers, with your family. They're people that you will know as long as you live, no matter what. So yeah, that's kind of my call coming back, and I've been struggling with it, to be honest. But yeah.
For me, I think definitely like worship is a really big part of my faith, but just to be able to like we were washing the dishes. It was like a Saturday night, so everyone goes around and they wash dishes once. But just to be washing dishes with my team, you know, just we're doing work, right? But we were worshiping while we were doing that. You know, we were singing praise. Just to be able to do work like joyfully, and just to really feel God's presence moving in that time, you know? Because we started worshiping, but it was crazy, you know? Everyone knew the lyrics. Like, when did this happen? And, you know, we're just sitting, and then, like, everyone finished washing the dishes, and then we ended up just sitting, like, in the main cafeteria area, just really feeling, like, wow, you know, just overwhelmed. Like, we didn't want the worship to stop, right? And then these other teams also came to join us. It was kind of weird, because we were just singing, and they're watching us and kind of, like, videotaping us. Like, it was really weird. Yeah. But just to be able to really like exude like just praise for God, you know, just worship for God, and then to have other people in their strange way also want to be part of it, you know, I was like, you know, this is God's kingdom, you know. It's just so good, so fruitful.
Yeah, that sounds really great to be part of that. And then yeah, you guys weren't just there by yourself. You had other people from different churches, from different states being there and wanting to be a part of this like worshipful experience. I think is great. this is a good transition to like for the people that are hearing this and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm interested. Like maybe I'd go to the DR or Haiti or wherever God sends me, but they're still on the fence. They're a little unsure on whether their heart's in the right place or if they're really going to be ready. What are some words of encouragement that you can share to the person that's out there listening that a little unsure about going on missions?
So definitely, I think, like, as long as you are willing to go, God can do so many different things. I experienced that firsthand. I was one of those, I'm not ready. But, but once I really commit, like once I realized, I was like, I just go. Like, regardless of whether or not I'm ready, what does that change? That's just a change in heart, right? It's just either way, God is gonna work through me. Either way, I'm going to have to pray. Either way, I'm going to have to prepare different things, whether it be like my heart or my mindset. If I'm going to do that, might as well go when I can, Just go spread God's kingdom. Go do God's work.
Yeah, adding on that, just missions is a thing you do go on, but it's more of being sent by God, and you're God's vessel. And most of the time, or all the time, it won't be you doing the work. It'll be God moving through you.
Amen.
Yeah. The year before, after I was reflecting and just thinking about it, like, I don't even remember the things I said, because most of the time of sharing was between team members in New Orleans. I don't even remember the things I said. I don't know how I worded it, but there's no way I alone could have said the things I said. I don't even remember what I said, but they were just the things I worded it, and the way I said it was not of me. So yeah, God's gonna work through you, and you just gotta trust that and let just let it go. Let your want to control and your want to have everything as you see fit go.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess the last question I have for you guys is, would y'all go again? As in, like, would y'all go back to the DR? Would y'all go back to Haiti? Or, would y'all go on another mission trip again in general?
Yeah. I'm in love with mission. Mission is wonderful. It's the only experience, or the only one I know of, that you get to spend 24/7 with God. Like, everything you touch and see, for the most part, is your interaction with God. Whether that be with just alone time if you're an introvert, or with each other, and everything you see and touch is like, wow, God does this, God does that. And it's 1 week, but it's definitely a worthwhile experience. Wherever that may be, it doesn't matter to me where I go. Wherever God calls, I will go. And yeah, for sure.
I actually felt a real calling to the DR again. Actually, just seeing a lot of the cultural aspects. There are a lot of parallels to Korean culture as well. It's really surprising. And then also just being in that place, that beautiful scenery. I'm actually thinking about maybe interning next year with Mission of Hope. So pray for me, guys.
You guys heard it here. Thank you guys for coming on. I think you guys did a great job. First time podcaster.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
If you guys have any other topics, you listeners, any topics that you guys want us to talk about or anything, feel free to comment below if you're on YouTube, or send us an email at archekcpch@gmail.com. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.